Hello and welcome to Wednesday Live with Evie. This is number 62 already. And here on Wednesday Live with Evie, what I do is I share on a topic relating to productivity. So whether you're watching live or on the recording, say hello in the comments and let me know that you're here. I'll have another question for you in just a bit. So today's topic is when you can't think your way through a decision, and I'll share more about what that means in just a little bit. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Evie Burke, and I work with entrepreneurs and I help them take their productivity to a new level. So at the end of the day, they don't have to worry about all of the things that maybe didn't get done that day or all of the things that have to be done tomorrow, but instead they can just really be completely and fully present with the people that they choose to spend their off hours with. And hello, Mary. Yes, I did not expect anything else. That's wonderful. So again, today's topic is when you can't think your way through a decision. And just respond yes or no in the comments below whether or not you've ever found yourself in a situation where you were surprised by the emotional reaction you had to it. And again, just type yes or no in the comments below. If you feel comfortable, by all means, share the situation, but you don't need to. So once you've had that emotional reaction that you've been surprised by, then you have three options. You can stay, leave, or ignore it. Now, I can't be the only one who defaults to ignore, right? Because ignore is a decision, even if it's not something that we're doing on purpose. So the problem with these types of things that we are so emotionally attached to or find ourselves emotionally in is that making a decision can be really difficult because we have so much emotion attached to it. Mary says the emotional reaction is a decision. Yes and no. So there is, when it's your default reaction, there's a lot of information that can be generated or can be learned from with an emotional reaction. So, and I'll go into it just a little bit. So sometimes the emotional reaction, the emotional response that we have to something is giving us information. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit. And it's not that it's a decision, but it's giving us information about a situation or about something that we can decide what we want to do with or not. Are there situations where your emotional reaction is definitely a decision that you can make or you can learn to react a different way? Absolutely, 100%. Either way, however, whatever the emotion is, it's something to learn from. So let me share my story from last week. So there is a small group program that I am in by a wonderful, wonderful coach. And she recently decided, or last week, she decided to start a challenge as part of the group. And I was added to a private Facebook group, and she described, what this challenge was going to be. And the challenge completely freaked me out. I felt really anxious. I felt really stressed. I felt overwhelmed by it. And I couldn't figure out why. It wasn't, a very difficult challenge. It wasn't anything that was completely out of left field. It was fairly simple and straightforward, and it incorporated all of the things that she had taught us, but she was kind of incentivizing us to go through the process, to participate, and really to make our businesses better. And she was trying to do it in a fun and engaging way. And like I said, I just freaked out by it. I just got really anxious. I got really stressed. I could feel how it was showing up in my body, and I didn't know what was going on. So I ignored it. And it was pretty easy to do. It was pretty easy to ignore. I marked the emails as read or saw that it was about the challenge and deleted them or archived them. I turned off all the notifications in the Facebook group so that it didn't pop up in my feed. And I ignored it for most of the week. And then Sunday came, and Sunday is when I normally plan my week. And I found myself doing most of the normal things that I do on Sunday, laundry, deciding which show I'm going to watch while I fold the laundry and do some things around the house. But there's also an important piece for my business that I do every week. I plan my week every Sunday. And I was avoiding my office like a plague. I described it to a friend yesterday as I was like a toddler, where I was stomping my feet and like, I don't want to do it, so I'm going to sit here and do this other thing instead. And I remember sitting on the couch realizing that I hadn't done my planning yet. And usually at that point of the day, my planning's done for the week. I can watch TV or do whatever I want with the rest of my Sunday and not really have anything else weighing on my mind. And I knew that I couldn't continue like that. But making a decision while I was feeling that stress and that anxiety just seemed really difficult. Like I couldn't think my way through that decision because there was so much anxiety and stress. Now, another side note I want to add here is, sometimes if you find yourself with a lot of anxiety and stress over a decision or in from a particular situation that you find yourself in, if you are somebody that works with a mental health professional, then this is a fabulous opportunity to reach out to them and schedule an extra session or, whatever it is so that you can work through this. If you are not somebody who has that but think you might, then, go and get that help. There's nothing wrong with having that layer or having somebody like that to bounce those ideas off of. I just want to throw that out there because you don't have to figure it out by yourself. You can go and work with somebody who is trained to help you with, anxiety and stress and those types of things. And I will say, while I was feeling anxiety and stress, I wasn't feeling it at a level where I was like, I need to go and get help with this. I hope that makes sense. But I don't want to neglect the mental health aspect of this as I go through this. So I just want to put that out there for you too. So anyway, because I was feeling that anxiety and stress, it was not easy for me to go through and, make a decision and, balance the pros and the cons and what should I do or what shouldn't I do. And honestly, if I would have gone through and done that, there were lots of reasons to go ahead and participate in that challenge. But because I was feeling so much stress and anxiety about it, I decided that for my own mental health and for me, that this was probably a sign that this wasn't a good fit for me. And so I sent an email off to my coach and I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I am, excluding myself from this challenge and I'm going to be removing myself from the Facebook group. Thank you so much for offering it. And, I felt so much better after I did that. It was literally, the stress went away, the anxiety went away, and I knew I had made the right decision for myself. And now a couple of days later, I can better understand, hindsight's 2020. I can better understand what's going on. And I also just want to point out too that there was nothing wrong with the challenge that she was doing. It was completely aligned with her business and the things that she does. And it was meant to be a fun thing. And when she emailed me back, she said, yeah, this is supposed to be a fun thing. If that's not how you were feeling about it, I completely understand it. I'm sorry that you felt that way. But again, I completely owned that this is how I was feeling. It wasn't her responsibility to make me feel any better about it. And it was just a sign that that was something that wasn't the right fit for me. So I want to unpack this just a little bit. So one of the thoughts that kept going through my head as I was thinking about, maybe I should step away from this challenge, maybe I shouldn't participate in it, was this challenge is meant to challenge you and it's doing that. And am I playing small with my business if I don't jump into this challenge and fully participate? And, like I said before, there's some decisions that really can't be made by thinking your way through them. And I know that can sound a little bit ridiculous, but hear me out. So if I would have tried to think my way through this situation, I would have stayed in the challenge. And knowing me, I would have shut down, not even halfway through, but, pretty quickly into it, because I would have been overwhelmed and anxious. And instead of losing and not doing my planning on Sunday and procrastinating just on Sunday, that would have become most of my April, which means that the goals and the things that I've laid out for myself to accomplish this month wouldn't have gotten done. And instead of losing one day, I would have lost an entire month. So thinking my way through that wouldn't have accounted for my mental state, right? So because I checked in with myself on a different level, instead of checking in, up here and trying to think my way through it, I noticed how being in this challenge felt in my gut. Like I did an intuition check. And I decided to exclude myself from the challenge. My intuition told me, through the anxiety, through the stress, and just through the way that I check in with my intuition, it told me that this wasn't a good fit for me and I could recuse myself. I could step out of it. So I did. So through this story, what can you walk away with? Well, when you're making a decision, whether it's a new decision for you, whether it's around a situation you find yourself in, whether you're trying to decide to commit to something or not, really check in with yourself. So yes, think about it, but do that intuition check, do that gut check, and notice how your body's feeling about it. Is there stress or anxiety in your body when you think about continuing or saying yes to that opportunity or that decision? Is there stress or anxiety when you think about saying no? Like, how does it feel in your body? Know where stress or anxiety normally shows up for you. So for me, stress shows up in my shoulders. And if I am tightening up in my shoulders, like that's where the stress is going to be. Anxiety shows up in my back. I get tingly and tightness in my back. I describe it as the uh-oh, I'm in trouble feeling. I can remember very clearly feeling this as a child when I would do something that I wasn't supposed to do, and I knew that my parents were going to find out and I was going to get in trouble. That's how I describe the anxiety feeling, because I can remember feeling anxious when I knew that I had done something I shouldn't have done as a kid. And as an adult, feeling that, it puts me right there into that kid space again. So when I feel it, like I know what it is. So know what it is for you. Where does it show up? What does it look like? And another thing to think about, as you're thinking about how it feels in your body and doing that intuition check, there's lots of places that are maybe better suited than I am to teach you how to check in with your intuition. For me, through practice and testing it out, one of the ways that I do it is I just close my eyes, and I ask myself the question in my head. And for me, my intuition, that answer comes almost before the question is finished, but like my head knows what the question is, like the words haven't finished yet, and the answer comes before the question is finished. Let me know if you need some help understanding what that sentence is. So that's how I can check in with my intuition. That's how I know, but I have to really be able to be in a quiet place to do that. And sometimes that's really difficult. So another way that you can do that, and this is one of the first ways that I learned how to do it, and It was from one of Martha Beck's books, and I don't remember if it was Steering by Starlight or another book of hers, or even if it was on her blog. Wherever it was, Steering by Starlight is a great book if you haven't read it. And she talks about shackles on and shackles off. And if you've been here a really long time, you might have heard me talk about this before. So she talks about when you're making a decision, think about how it feels if you were to say yes to that decision, or if you were to move forward with that action. And how does that feel in your body? Does it feel like shackles on, like somebody is putting shackles on your wrist? And, does it feel heavy? Or does it feel shackles off, where, shackles are dropping away? Does it feel freeing? Does it feel light? And notice how it feels. So you can do it a couple of different ways. Like as you think about making a decision or moving forward with something, does it feel shackles on or shackles off? If you were to say no to a decision or stop doing something, how does that feel? Shackles on or shackles off? And however that feels, like notice that, like really notice how that feels in your body. And that's your intuition, your gut, your higher power, however you want to word it, God kind of giving you that nudge saying, this is maybe where you want to go with that. And, use that information as you're making these decisions. So another step that I think can sometimes be missed is kind of doing a review after you've made that decision. And you do the review for a couple of reasons. One is so that you can look at what your process was and what maybe you would do differently. And two is so that you could just learn from it. And again, it goes with number one, like what worked and what didn't. So notice after you've made the decision and you've committed to it, how does it feel now? What are you feeling? Are you feeling relieved? Are you feeling happy? Is there something else? How does it feel in your body? Did the tension leave your body? Did the tension move? Like what's going on there? And how does it feel now compared to what it felt like before? And just notice what that feels like. All right, and make a note of it if you want to. If you journal or something, just make a note about how being in the process of making that decision felt, and then how it feels now that you've made that decision. And how did you decide to make that decision? How did you know to make that decision? What was that process? What seemed to really work for you and what maybe didn't work for you with the process that you went through? And just notice some of those things, maybe make a note of them, so when you find yourself in a similar situation in the future, you can use that information and not have to, reinvent the wheel. You know, okay, this really worked for me, this part really didn't, okay? And if you want to unpack it even a bit more, if you were feeling anxious or stressed or, anything like that, what do you think was going on? Like what was the reason for that? So, and a couple of things I want to note before I wrap up is if an opportunity or a decision or something else comes up that elicits a strong emotion, whether it's a good emotion or a bad emotion, it's something to notice, especially if it's not normal for you. And it doesn't always mean that it's something to say no to. It might be something to say yes to, but it's scary or outside of your comfort zone because it's going to cause you to grow and expand that comfort zone, right? It's like the comfort zone is surrounded by a rubber band, and the rubber band is not taut, and then you try to expand it and it gets a little taut and it's uncomfortable. But the longer, the more work you do toward that, the more that becomes the new space, right? So don't just say no because you're feeling anxious or you're feeling scared. Do that gut check-in and just make sure that you know what's actually happening there. And then number two is, and I see, Mary, I do see your comments and I'll get to them in a minute. Number two is sometimes really, really well-meaning people, mostly coaches and consultants, will tell you that these strong emotions of stress or anxiety or fear are your ego or your gremlin or your whatever, wanting you to stay safe and small, and that you should just play big, and so you should push through that resistance and say yes to their opportunity. And sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong. So I just want you to remember that at the end of the day, you know you better than anybody else. And for me, in retrospect, if I would have continued with that challenge because I wanted to push through it, because I was committed to my business, I would have been anxious and stressed, and that would have kept me from really fully participating and doing the things in the challenge, but also doing the things for my business that I had already planned to do. And while there's nothing wrong with changing our plans or our goals, it's also okay to stick with them. It's also okay to say, you know what, that's a great opportunity, that's a great challenge, and I'm good with the things that I've already got planned, and I'm going to move ahead with those things. So basically, if you walk away with nothing else from today's Live with Evie, I want you to know that you know yourself best, and check in with yourself. Don't allow somebody else to tell you what you should or shouldn't do, or that you're playing small or not growing because you're not doing it their way. All right. So last but not least, sometimes it can be super helpful to have a place to come, get some accountability, ask questions, bounce ideas off of people. And there is a group where we do that every Monday. And it's the Unnamed Productivity Club. If that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, I invite you to join us. It's a really fabulous group of ladies that really are seeing so much progress in their business because they have that accountability, because they have a place to show up, and they have someone, me, asking them every week, what is it that you want to accomplish this week? What is it that is really important for you to do? And I'll follow up with whatever it is that they say that they're going to do, or if they don't answer me, I reach out to them about that too. So if you want to join us, it's $17 a month right now. That is a limited time offer. Thank you, Mary. I see that you just posted that in there. You can cancel at any time. So if you want to just come and try it out and see if it's for you, I invite you to do that. And if you find that it's not for you, that's fine. You can cancel it. It's super simple. But I would love to see you there if you feel like this is a good place for you to be. So, and one of the reasons that I was able to confidently turn down the opportunity that I was so stressed out about is I knew it was on my schedule for the month. I knew what I needed to do, because part of the club is we do a planning party or a planning workshop at the end of every month to prepare for the next month. And I walk myself through that same process before I walk everybody else through it. So I know what it is that's on my agenda for the coming month and the coming week. So again, if you're interested in that, join us. All right, I am going to go through and read these comments. Oh yes, Mary shared the Amazon for the steering by Starlight. Yes. Yes, Mary, I remember that. So she said that she couldn't make a decision about something, whether it was going to be, I don't know if it was a 3 weeks or 4 weeks, or it was a 3 or a 4 decision. And Mary and I go to church together, and she walked up to my husband and she said, pick one, 3 or 4. And he picked one, and that's what she did, because sometimes we can get so caught up in our own head with these decisions that we know aren't a huge difference. We just, one way or the other, we just need to make a decision and then commit to it. And I remember hearing from my husband later, so Mary asked me this weird question. Do you know what it meant? I'm like, I don't know. But Mary told me about it later. Oh, it was 3 or 4 sessions. Yeah. So anyway, that is it for this week's Wednesday Live with Evie. Until next week, much love to you all. Bye.